All right, welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. Today we're going to be going, well, beyond melting glaciers, and we're going to be diving into something that's a bit more personal, and that's how climate change is already messing with our health.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got some pretty eye-opening research from the Pulse of Change to sort of guide us through this deep dive.
It's, it's fascinating stuff. Most people, I think, just don't realize, how widespread these health impacts are already.
Yeah, I was shocked to learn that in the U.S., heat waves are actually the deadliest weather event. Yeah. More so than hurricanes and tornadoes and floods. Come on.
A silent killer, And as these heat waves become more frequent and more intense, we're going to see, a whole host of health problems getting worse. So let's break it down. Yeah. What exactly makes these heat waves so dangerous?
Well, yeah.
I mean, we all get a little, sweaty in the summertime. Right, sure.
Right.
But we're talking about temperatures that really, push the human body to its absolute limits.
Yeah.
You've got heat exhaustion, heat stroke.
Yeah.
Those are sort of the immediate dangers.
Right.
But the real concern is how this extreme heat really exacerbates existing conditions.
Oh, okay.
So if you've already got, heart problems or respiratory issues, intense heat can be a real trigger.
Like that 2021 heat wave in the Pacific Northwest, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember reading about it all over the news.
It was a major wake-up call, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Pacific Northwest is not exactly known for scorching heat.
Oh.
Yet hospitals were just overflowing.
Wow.
With heat stroke cases.
Really? And
then you've got, you hear about those urban heat islands.
Yeah.
Those are only making things worse.
Urban heat islands.
Well, think about it,
Yeah.
Think about a city, concrete, asphalt, buildings just packed together.
Yeah.
All of that traps heat, right?
Uh-huh.
Making cities significantly hotter than the surrounding areas.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes by as much as like 10 degrees.
Really?
If you've ever walked barefoot on a sidewalk versus grass on a hot day.
Oh, yeah.
You felt this.
I can imagine.
Firsthand.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense, yeah. So we've got the heat itself.
Right.
And then this urban heat island effect on top of it.
Exactly.
But it's not just the temperature, right?
No, it's not.
The Pulse of Change, they mention air pollution getting worse during heat waves too?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, heat waves often lead to this buildup of ground-level ozone, which is a major component of smog. Right. And that means more asthma attacks.
Oh, gosh.
More respiratory illnesses, especially for, kids and the elderly, who are particularly vulnerable to these types of things.
So it's like a double whammy.
Exactly.
Bad air and extreme heat. Yeah. Particularly in those concrete jungles.
It's not a good combination.
No, it's not.
And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. Let's move on to hurricanes.
Yeah.
We all know the damage that they can cause.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But the long-term health consequences are often overlooked.
Yeah, I tend to think about the immediate devastation. Yeah. Wind, flooding, that kind of thing.
Right.
What are we missing?
What happens after the storm passes?
Yeah.
The floodwaters recede. But they often leave behind contaminated water.
Yeah.
Right. Perfect for breeding bacteria like E. coli.
Oh, gosh.
And then mold starts growing in water-damaged homes. Yeah. Triggering allergies and respiratory problems.
Right.
It's a real mess.
Yeah. And the mental health toll, too.
Oh, absolutely.
The Pulse of Change highlighted the spike in PTSD, anxiety, and even suicide rates after a major hurricane.
After Hurricane Katrina, those rates almost doubled in affected areas.
Wow.
It's a pattern we see after every major storm.
Really, it makes you wonder if we're really prepared, not just for the immediate impact of these storms, but for the long tail of health consequences that follow.
It's a valid point. Yeah, and it's not just hurricanes, right? Right. Climate change is impacting the spread of all sorts of diseases.
You're talking about, those vector-borne diseases? Right. Right. The ones spread by insects like mosquitoes and ticks.
Right. Yeah. Warmer temperatures and changing rain patterns are creating ideal breeding grounds for these insects.
So we're talking about, diseases like Zika, dengue, Lyme disease, things we used to associate with tropical areas or just certain regions.
Right.
Right.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
These diseases are on the move.
Really?
Cases of Lyme disease, for example, have doubled in the U.S. over the last 20 years.
Right.
And we're seeing Zika and dengue popping up in places they've never been before.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is where it hits home, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not some far-off problem anymore.
Right.
These climate-driven health risks.
Yeah.
They're in our backyards.
In our backyards. Yeah. So it's definitely something we need to be paying attention to.
Okay, so where do we go from here? What can we actually do about this?
Well, let's talk about that. Yeah, it can feel kind of overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Like how do we even begin to tackle all of these climate-driven health risks?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's a big challenge for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the first step is it's kind of moving past that feeling of helplessness.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, by remembering that every action we take, even the small ones, can contribute to the solution.
Right.
And there's a lot we can do.
Yeah.
Both individually and collectively.
Right. Yeah. So let's start with individual action. What are some things that that people can do in their own lives to kind of to make a difference here?
Well, one of the most impactful things you can do is reduce your reliance on cars.
Okay.
Can you walk or bike to work or to run errands?
Yeah.
Could you carpool with a neighbor?
Yeah.
Explore, public transportation options.
Yeah.
Those little shifts can make a big difference in your carbon footprint.
I've actually been trying to bike to work.
Oh, nice.
A couple of days a week.
Yeah.
And it's a good exercise.
Sure.
And I feel a little less guilty
about
my car just, sitting in traffic all the time.
There you go. And those little changes, they can inspire others too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe your coworker sees you biking in and they decide, hey, I want to try that.
Yeah.
It's about, building that momentum.
Right. Okay. So transportation's a big one.
Yeah.
What about our homes?
Okay. Yeah.
Any tips there?
Sure. So think about energy efficiency, right?
Okay.
Swapping out old light bulbs for LEDs.
Yeah.
Using a programmable thermostat. Making sure your appliances are Energy Star rated.
Right.
These are simple changes that can that can save you money on your energy bills.
Yeah.
And reduce your carbon footprint at the same time.
And what about food?
Oh yeah.
I know that animal agriculture,
yes,
especially factory farming,
yes,
is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions.
It is. It's often overlooked.
Yeah.
But try swapping beef for chicken a couple of times a week.
Okay.
Incorporate more plant-based meals into your diet.
Yeah.
Look for local produce.
Okay.
Maybe even try growing some of your own herbs or veggies.
Yeah.
In a container garden,
I like that idea, yeah.
Fresh herbs always make food taste better.
Yeah, I do.
So it's really about making these small adjustments that fit into your lifestyle.
Right.
You don't have to become, a vegan overnight or live off the grid.
Yeah.
It's about finding those areas where you can make sustainable choices that feel good for you and for the planet.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got transportation, home energy, and food. What about this idea of community resilience that we touched on earlier?
Okay.
How can we prepare for those climate-related health impacts as a community?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Think about those urban heat islands we discussed.
Yeah.
Planting trees, creating green spaces.
Yeah.
Those aren't just individual actions.
Right.
Those require community effort.
Right, like getting involved in local park cleanups or advocating for more green spaces in your neighborhood.
Exactly. And what about supporting local farmers markets?
Oh yeah.
That not only reduces the carbon footprint of your food,
right,
but it builds a more resilient local food system.
Yeah, and don't forget about those less obvious health risks that we talked about, like water contamination after a hurricane.
Absolutely. Yeah. Having a plan in place for how your community will respond to these events is crucial.
Yeah.
Do you know where your nearest clean water source is in case of an emergency?
That's a good point.
Have you talked to your neighbors about how you can help each other if a disaster strikes?
Yeah, it's about preparedness.
Yeah.
Both individually and as a community.
Absolutely. And it's also about It's also about advocating for change at a larger scale,
Yeah.
Contact your elected officials. Let them know that that climate change and its health impacts are important to you.
Right.
Vote for candidates who prioritize these issues. Support organizations that are working on solutions.
I think people sometimes underestimate the power of their own voice in the political process.
I agree.
Like, oh, one person can't make a difference.
That's where you're wrong.
Right.
One voice becomes 10 voices.
Okay.
Becomes 100 voices. Becomes 1,000 voices.
Yeah.
Politicians pay attention when their constituents speak up.
Right.
And the more people
Yeah.
who demand action on climate change,
Sure.
the more pressure there is to actually make real change happen.
Okay, so we've talked about individual action, community resilience, and political advocacy. What about the role of technology in all of this?
Okay.
I mean, surely there are some technological solutions
Oh, yeah.
that can help us kind of tackle these climate-driven health risks.
There absolutely are.
Right.
And that's actually what we're going to explore
Oh, cool.
in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, all right, so stick with us, folks. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors
Sounds good.
to talk about the exciting world of climate tech.
Yeah.
And its potential to safeguard our health. Okay, so we're back, and we're ready to geek out a bit about how technology can help us tackle these health challenges of climate change.
It's really a rapidly evolving field.
Yeah.
With some truly mind-blowing innovations.
Okay, so let's start with the big one, energy.
Yeah.
We all know that ditching fossil fuels is, it's crucial.
Yeah.
What role does technology play in making that happen?
Well, we're seeing huge advancements in renewable energy tech.
Yeah.
Solar panels, wind turbines.
Right.
Even geothermal and advanced nuclear options. They're becoming more efficient, more affordable all the time.
And it's not just about generating cleaner energy, right? It's also about using it smarter.
Absolutely, yeah. That's where smart grids come in.
Okay.
They use data and AI to optimize energy distribution,
Okay.
reducing waste,
Yeah.
and making our systems more resilient.
Okay.
Think of it like a traffic control system for electricity.
I actually read an article recently about a city in Europe that's using a smart grid
Oh, cool.
to integrate solar power from individual homes.
Yeah.
So basically your neighbor's rooftop solar panels could be helping to power your house?
That's the idea. It's about creating these interconnected,
Wow.
decentralized energy systems.
Okay.
And the beauty of these renewable energy sources is that they have direct health benefits,
Yeah.
beyond just reducing emissions.
Right. Less air pollution means fewer respiratory problems,
Right.
less cardiovascular disease, healthier communities overall.
Right, for sure.
But what about those other climate impacts that we discussed?
Okay, sure.
Like the spread of diseases
Yeah.
carried by mosquitoes and ticks. Can technology help us there?
There's some really cool innovations
Yeah.
in disease surveillance and control.
Okay.
For instance, drones equipped with sensors
Yeah.
can now detect mosquito breeding sites
Yeah.
and target them with insecticides.
So we're using tech to fight mosquitoes.
It's pretty amazing.
That's wild.
Yeah. There are also apps that use real-time data
Oh, wow.
to track disease outbreaks
Okay.
and alert people in affected areas.
Oh, that's great.
It's about, early detection
Yeah.
and rapid response
Right.
to really minimize those health impacts.
It's really incredible to see how technology can help us adapt
Yeah.
and become more resilient in the face of all these challenges.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not just about reacting, is it?
No, not at all.
We need to be proactive too.
Absolutely. And that's where things like vertical farming come in.
Okay.
Instead of those sprawling fields that are susceptible to drought
Right.
and pests,
Yeah.
we can grow food in stacked layers indoors.
Okay.
Uses far less water and land.
Yeah.
And we can even grow year-round
Wow.
in urban areas.
So it's like a high-tech greenhouse, basically.
You could think of it that way.
Yeah.
It's a controlled environment,
Right.
which means you can really optimize growing conditions
Yeah.
and reduce reliance on pesticides.
This all feels very futuristic.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to know that these solutions are actually being developed and implemented right now.
It is, yeah.
Like it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Really.
The field of climate tech is constantly evolving with new innovations emerging all the time.
It's clear that technology is going to play a crucial role in how we address climate change and protect our health.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful tool, but it's not a silver bullet.
Exactly. Technology alone won't solve the problem.
Right.
We need systemic change.
Yeah.
We need individual action and really a whole of society approach to make a real difference.
So what's the takeaway for our listener?
Okay.
What can they do armed with all this knowledge about climate change and its health impacts?
I'd say the first step is to stay informed and engaged.
Okay.
Keep learning.
Yeah.
Keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to have those, sometimes uncomfortable conversations with friends and family.
Right.
Because
ultimately this is a challenge that affects all of us.
It does.
And it's going to take all of us working together to really create a healthier and more sustainable future.
Well said. Remember, the future is in our hands.
Well, that's it for this deep dive into climate change and your health.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We hope you found it informative and empowering.
Absolutely.
Until next time, stay curious and stay hopeful.